All right, hello everyone, the Skilled Roy here, back with another Legends Runeterra video, and today we have the Kindred reveal. I am super excited to see this. Let's hop right in and see the trailer.
Level 1.
Without the other. Shall we do?
All right, 5 mana, 4/4 quick attack. What each time you slay a unit, each round, I mark the weakest enemy. Round end, I kill my weak marked enemy. Ooh, so she has delayed vengeances. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, you definitely don't want to block Kindred. Definitely feels like a mistake. Nice, okay. I'm just give the weakest ally. I can't take damage or die this round.
Threads of fate, unraveled and rewoven.
Interesting. So it's like a one-turn unyielding. Spirit Journey, kill a unit, then revive it. Oh, damn, that's like Chronicler. Where you can target enemies. Oh, that's so sick.
A shadow like dappled sunlight.
That was fun.
Woo, nice spin. That was sick. Okay. And she gets +2/+2 each time this time instead. Okay. So you kill the 0/1. Gets stronger, makes it weaker, attack everything.
With grace and precision.
The chase ends.
More lie ahead.
Nice. All right. Wow. Just use outvalue them, I guess. That's just how it is. Not bad. All right, so next up we have the actual cards for the Kindred reveal, and I'm super excited to see these. If they're anything like I think they might be, I think we might have some serious, fearsome cards in here, but we'll see. I'm ready to see it. Okay, first up we have Fading Icon, 2 mana, 3/1. And when it's summoned, you summon a prey, which is a 0 mana 0/1. So this is kind of like a 2 mana 3/2 split into half, right? The question really becomes here is how relevant do you really want these effects? Of course, your main sort of use for this is going to be able to make bodies and use the prey as literally just fuel for the rest of your effects. But in all honesty, like, it does kind of feel like cards like Hapless Aristocrat have already been doing that for a while now. So I'm not too sure if you really want a 2-drop version of that when cards with other last breaths, such as like Hapless Aristocrat I just mentioned, but other last breath effects are just probably more efficient, I want to say. Like, I'm curious as to a time where I'd want to play Fading Icon over, say, Cursed Keeper, right? Like I'm not too certain when that's going to be yet. We'll have to see, of course. I think the best time to use this is really when you're blocking, because that seems to be the only unique time we want to do this, because at least like Curse Keeper gives you a unique upside, right? But it can't block. I'm not super excited about Fading Icon, but it's interesting overall. We're gonna have to give it a couple more tries, and we'll see how it sort of lands. All right, next up we have the Aether Fiend, 7 mana, 6/4 fearsome, play, kill an ally to kill an enemy. This is... Ooh, man. So for those who don't know, this is actually really similar to the card Crumble, which is a 5 mana card that kills your own ally and kills the enemy. But this also has a 6/4 fearsome body attached to it. Is that enough to make it relevant? I almost want to say yes, but it's still going to be very contentious at the higher mana cost, right? Like when you're at 7 mana, 7 unit mana, mind you, it's just like, you have to be using this as a counterpunch, basically. Like the opponent plays something big, you're like, okay, boom, Aether Fiend, kill it, right? Like you're using this almost like a vengeance in a weird way, I know. It's hard for me to see this being incredibly powerful unless you're just really holding priority well, which, you know, you could do, of course, but it's just, I'm not super excited for this card, unfortunately, but we'll have to see sort of how it sort of moves forward here, but it's just like, you know, it's fine. It's Crumble on a stick. That's fine, I guess, you know. Oh man, here we go. We have the 4 mana 4/1 Spirit Leech. Play, kill an ally to draw 2. It really does feel like we're getting a sub-theme here of taking cards that already exist and putting them onto creatures. Now, this is actually quite decent, though, because unlike, say, Glimpse, they can't really respond to this. It'll happen instantaneously. It won't be a skill where it goes on the stack. You can just play it for 4 mana, boom, kill something, draw 2. That's pretty fine, in all honesty. This card is okay. I know it seems really bad that 4 mana 4/1. You're like, okay, I'm going to spend like 1 mana to kill it. But like in reality, what's going to happen is that you'll be able to use this to quickly activate your death effects really easily, and as well as just draw 2, just get some more value out of you, right? Like, it's not as bad as it looks. I know it looks kind of whack, but like even doing something like this onto an Undying, for example, can give you a lot of value in the long game. So I think this is surprisingly okay. It's just, I think you're still probably rather running Glimpses to deny the opponent's options more than you're going to be wanting to spend 4 mana for the 4/1 body here. The only other hypothetical situation here is you run all of them, which is you run the 3 Glimpses and you run 3 of these, which is, it's actually fairly possible. That's something you might be interested in doing. But yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be too excited to run this, but we'll see sort of how the meta shapes up. And I think, especially with some of the slay effects that we're seeing, it might be a little bit better than you might expect. All right, now speaking of cards that are translated from their League of Legends counterpart, here we go. We have Lamb's Respite. Give the weakest ally I can't take damage or die this round. Now, this basically guarantees you the strongest chump blocker you've ever seen, but you'll also be able to milk that unit for other sort of effects, such as the ones they showed in the trailer, such as anything that requires you to kill an ally. Instead, you'll be able to just summon them instead, and the kill effect will still activate, which is really interesting. So that means you'll be able to count your slays, but not actually sacrifice the unit. I'm not sure how good this is going to be, especially with how uncontrollable it is, because it only targets your weakest ally, but I'm curious about how many different ways you can abuse this. If you... Like, will your last breath still be able to activate if you're killing it, but then it doesn't die? You know what I mean? I have to test this card out. There's a couple of different ways it can be evaluated based on like how its interactions work, so this will be tested. But overall, it's interesting. I think it's a really unique effect and certainly brings across who Kindred is. But at least for now, I'm not really seeing it to be super competitive, but we'll see. All right, next we have Song of the Isles. 2 mana, grant an ally lifesteal, fearsome, and ephemeral. This is just a keyword soup you just splash onto someone, god damn. Okay, so basically the main use for this is really going to be just get in for extra damage, get some lifesteal in. It's gonna be a solid card overall. Reminds me a lot of Mark of the Isles. It's similar art, obviously evokes a similar sort of feeling. The main sort of question here is that like, when are you really gonna want both fearsome lifesteal? It seems a little off to me for that reason alone. Those two keywords don't synergize in any particular way. You know what I mean? It'd be different if this was like, say, Overwhelm or something like that, where now they just really don't want to block it, so you get the lifesteal for free. But it also adds ephemeral too, which is a pretty significant downside. Now, when you were using cards like Mark in the past, what you would typically do to dodge that downside is a variety of like just killing the unit anyways and getting bonuses from it, or like say having a unit that already has ephemeral on it, right? Like those are some really generally solid ways to do this, but getting +2/+2 I think is going to be generally more useful than the lifesteal fearsome. It's hard to say for sure, but like it just doesn't seem incredibly relevant until like you need it in emergency situations, you know what I mean? So we'll have to see just how good this card is. Overall, I'm not super excited for it, but I think it might have a place. It just feels very random. I don't really see exactly how this works, because by the way, we now know that ephemeral does not count for slay effects, which is just like, if this worked for slay effects, I'd understand it, but it's just a very odd card. I don't understand it just yet. Maybe there's some cards we're missing. We'll have to see what sort of comes up next. Okay, next up we have Unto Dust. 2 mana, draw 1, Nightfall. Activate the ally's Nightfall effect, ignoring any targeted portions. Oh my god, this card is so good. This card is insane. Like, every single time I try to leave fearsome Nightfall aggro, they just keep pulling me back in. They keep doing it. This card is crazy. So first of all, you can use it as a Nightfall activator if you want to, because it's 2 mana, draw 1. Just fine on its own. Like I said previously with the Rune's path card, that as long as you're drawing 1 off of the card effect, you're really not going to be too upset about it. Now, the fact that this is a burst speed activation with Nocturne, this card is just absurd, because now you can just coat their entire board at burst speed, not give them a chance to develop, and attack with your full board of fearsome units. Like, this is genuinely very, very good, and I'm really curious if like how they can get away with it, considering it has draw a card attached to it, man. That's actually kind of nuts. I'm really excited to sort of see just how this will work, but like, damn. I really have to see how this works, because this is very spicy, and I'm curious as how fast you can break this card. You know what I mean? We'll have to see just like how many different variations of Nightfall we can really go through. But the one off the top of my head immediately is just Nocturne's -1 attack to everyone, because that effect with this just lets you do so many easy open attacks. We'll have to see further, obviously, but that is just super exciting. I'm really excited for this card. Okay, next up we have Masked Mother, 2 mana, 2/2, fearsome. Play kill an ally to grant me its stats and keywords. Oh my god, this card is nuts. This card is just genuinely crazy. So I talked a lot about yesterday about how I'm scared for a lot of the 1-drops in the fearsome aggro deck because of how they have low health totals. With 1 health, and we're living in a world where Freljord, which is going to be pretty decent I think moving forward, has Ice Shards, which does 1 damage to everything, you're going to need things that like use your X1 health units really reliably. So cards like Fervor, for example. But Mask Mother comes down and it can just eat your 1-drop that you attacked with on turn 1, and now it's going to be way stronger. So for example, let's say turn 1 you play Precious Pet, attack for 2. Third turn, they didn't play anything turn 1. Third turn 2, they're like, okay, I'm gonna see what he plays first, and then if he plays another 1 health unit, I'm gonna Ice Shards him and 2-for-1 him. But then you can just play Mask Mother instead, kill your Precious Pet, and now on turn 2, you have a 4/3 Fearsome. You have a Callista. Like that is crazy to me. And that's just like, we're talking pretty conservatively here too, by the way. Like you can easily add more sort of effects to this, and the fact that you take their keywords as well is super valuable. Most importantly, if this works the same way other keyword stealing cards work, such as Give It All and things like that, you can't take negative keywords from someone. So you can't take Vulnerable and you can't take Ephemeral. But you know what that means? You can play high statted Ephemeral units and then use Mask Mother to eat them. And then with that in mind, you get to keep that high stat total, but still keep it permanently on the board with Mask Mother on a Fearsome body. Like imagine her with the Octopus. You now have a 2-mana, 7/7 lifesteal Fearsome unit. That is just wild. You guys see what I mean, right? That card is just crazy, right? So I think just in so many different decks, this card is just relevant. It can kill champions too, take their keywords. Like it's just, wow, this card is surprisingly good. I'm gonna have to see just like how many different ways you can sort of abuse this, but I'm very like excited to sort of mess around with it and be like, okay, like let's try out some things, let's try out some different combinations, because like it almost seems impossible for this not to do well, just because already it has a good stat base and it grows only from there. Like when I see this type of effect, I would expect it to be like a 1/1 or a 1/2. You know what I mean? I wouldn't expect it to already just be decent on its own. Like if you play this on turn 2 on nothing even, you're like a little disappointed, but you're fine with it. Like in Fearsome Aggro, you play Mistwraith sometimes. Like it's just, wow, I'm actually really impressed. Card is very good. You know me, I know my Fearsome cards, guys. This card is gonna do well. I'm very excited for it. Okay, next we have is Kindred Spirit Journey. Kill a unit, then revive it. And then, of course, create a Kindred as we know before. Now, this is actually quite interesting. So this is actually very similar to the effect of Chronicler of Ruin. However, Chronicler of Ruin can only target allies. This can target enemies. And that is very significant because it lets you refresh, level up scene conditions, as well as champions buffs they have on them. So, for example, let's say you have a Fiora, right? The Fiora has like 30 buffs on her. You can now you can kill it and then revive it, and she'll be back to being a 3/3 with none of her progression on her level up or her winning the game. So even if she has leveled up already and she's like 1 kill away, you can do Spirit Journey and she has to kill 4 more again. Like that is hugely significant. Not to mention you can use it on your own cards, of course, to get the bonus effects from Last Breaths and resummon effects. Like this card is genuinely very good. So the real question here is trying to find out how good is that flexibility? Because right now, today, right, like Chronicler of Ruin sees play in like Anivia decks and Undying decks. So how much better is Spirit Journey going to be than a Chronicler of Ruin? And if at all, right? Because like, let's be honest, the 3/3 body is somewhat relevant sometimes. And if you're only targeting your allies anyways, then maybe that's relevant. So overall, I'm pretty happy for this card, but when we see them, you're going to be able to see the fact that when you kill one of them, like say you kill like their weaker unit, it'll actually still activate on their stronger unit and then it'll revive. So you can really manipulate the mark positioning as well, which is very important. Overall though, I think this card is super unique, super interesting. We'll just have to sort of see just how useful it is and if it's worth cutting Chronicler of Ruin out and putting this just in most of the times instead. I have a feeling it might be because it's spell mana instead of unit mana, but I have no way to know for sure. Okay, there they are. Kindred, the 5 mana 4/4 with quick attack. The first time you slay a unit each round, I mark the weakest enemy. It should really be we mark the weakest enemy, right? Whatever. Round end, kill units with my mark. Level up, I've seen you slay 2 units with my mark. Now I want to be clear here. The units with the mark don't have to die to Kindred's effect. They can just die to anything, and then as long as they had the mark on them initially. Okay, and then when you level them up, they get +2/+2 every single time you are slaying, the first time you slay your unit over each round. I think it's pretty obvious to most people that the level of effect is not that interesting. It's like an inevitability clause. It's like, sure, I guess you get some stats. It doesn't really matter. It's gonna matter for things like Atrocity, but I think that's basically it. However, I think the effect is so powerful and the ability to get these constantly repeating slow vengeances, essentially, is really where this card really shines. Kindred is going to be a mid-range monster, constantly trading out their own units to kill out the opponent's units. And basically, this is really similar to a style of a style of deck in Magic the Gathering called aristocrats, where basically you kill your own units to constantly gain value on your opponent, either by killing their units, making you get more bonuses than them, and constantly just grinding them out over time. It's not going to be a particularly fast deck, and I think we kind of know that seeing Nasus now, but like Kindred will be able to really fuel Nasus to such an extent where Nasus is going to hit the board and just demand respect because he's going to be like a 20/20 or something absurd, right? So overall, Kindred does feel a little specific in their niche, right? Where they're going to be, anytime you're going to kill your own units, you're going to keep trading up for value. I think Kindred is going to fit into a wide variety of decks, but that archetype of deck is almost always going to be certainly mid-range. You could also argue that Kindred can go into a control list as well, because it turns a lot of your removal spells into a 2-for-1. Like, for example, a Mystic Shot now becomes a deal 2 damage, kill their weakest enemy. And that's pretty spooky, let's be honest. And if we're really being fair here as well, Kindred having a 4/4 health total also keeps it away from a lot of the traditionally really accessible removal spells, right? It keeps it away from things like Culling Strike. It keeps it away from things like Get Excited. Keeps them away from things that are really going to be used quite frequently to kill useful units like this, right? And it being right at that 5 mana range for 4 health, 4 attack, makes it pretty solid. It'll also be able to attack a lot because it has quick attack, and the opponent really doesn't want to block it, because if they block it and they just chump block it, they are going to be losing 2 units basically for free. Honestly, this card is pretty spooky in what it can do in a long form game. Like I said, I think mid-range is the best home for Kindred, and I think that they are going to see a lot of success there. Will you move this into something faster paced? I don't think so. I think you're going to be looking at mid-range to control decks at best. I usually love playing aggro decks. I know yesterday I said I hope that Kindred was like a little bit faster, just because I love SI aggro, but I think this is a perfect card for the aristocrat mid-range control lists that SI kind of wants, which, you know, it doesn't really have a champion that's perfect for that right now. So I think Kindred is exactly up that alley. Overall, though, I think my main thing I'm going to say here is that Kindred looks really, really great. I think Kindred can be splashed into a variety of different SI decks, not even just specifically with Nasus. Nasus has some of the general power of it, but it's no secret that SI has plenty of ways to kill things. And I think with things like P and Z's removal packages, or perhaps like the vulnerable packages of, you see, like a Bilgewater, or like maybe Demacia with single combat and constantly trading with Grand Plaza, I feel like there's just so many different ways you can really abuse this. So I'm really, really excited to see just how far we can sort of push this. Overall, though, great card. I'm really excited to see more from the rest of the expansion. I think we have about 3 more champions left. Next, we'll have Sivir, then LeBlanc, and then, of course, the God Emperor himself, Azir. So I'm really looking forward to that. We'll see just where the cards lie. In particular of note, tomorrow, though, we are getting 2 of every region, which is very spicy. I'm very excited to see that, because that means we could be missing some of the cards here that could make Kindred even better. And I think Kindred right now is more than constructed playable. I think we can just sort of wait and see for tomorrow and see what new spices get added across the different regions. Otherwise, though, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate you guys coming by. If you guys have any questions or want to see any of my information or talk to me about any of the sort of theories you might have, please hit me up on my Discord. I will be there basically all the time answering your questions and talking to you guys about these new cards. I will see you tomorrow for a collection of cards across all regions. Peace out.